I put together this presentation using a number of sources. So this is part things that I have found that help me deal with my own panic attacks and things like that. It's also stuff I pulled from past trainings with trauma-informed training, ACEs, things like that. But a lot of those that I've been in the past focus a lot on like the breathing, you know, box breathing, ladybug, whatever. And those are fantastic and they're great. But I felt like they lacked a little bit because I feel like obviously breathing is in your body, but I feel like a lot of that also has to do with head work, right? So for me, I have found a more somatic approach works, a little body first approach works. So I put together some things that I've come across and kind of remixed some information. But movement is really good for students when they can't talk it out. They are so dysregulated, they can't reflect or pause. Getting them to move, getting them to have action helps reset that nervous system, helps calm it down, and makes them feel safe. Sometimes they just need that action and not the discussion. Movement, movement's feedback helps the brain feel safe. I think that comes from way back, when we lived in more hunter-gatherers. The only time that we could experience free movement was when we felt safe. When we could have our drum circles, things like that. So that and have those dances, and that's when we could feel safe. And I think that's part of why that gets wired into us. I'm gonna kind of skip around here. Calm is not the same as regulated. Just because a kid's body might be calm doesn't mean his brain or his nervous system his or her nervous system isn't regulated. And then sometimes what we really need them to do is we need them to wake up. We don't necessarily need them to calm down. We need them to wake up and be focused and attentive. And so I've got some things here for both of those things. When they're in that fight or flight, or if they're kind of shut down or checked out, I've got some techniques you can use in all those times. We're gonna start with the heavy work. This is getting those big muscle groups involved, as much full body as you can. Activating those muscles and joints kind of calms and helps organize the nervous system. It's good to use when the kids are very frustrated. It's good to use after transition, and it's good for activating before test or independent work. So like I said, this is anything that kind of gets those big muscle groups involved and things like that. So some examples of this, have them do wall push-ups. Just find a spot on the wall, and then they can make it as hard or easy as they want it. Just kind of getting those arms working, chest muscles working. The desk press, just have them go up to a desk and press down. And that can get them to tense up that whole body. And then when they relax it, it kind of flushes out their system and helps them reset. Or if they're sitting down, you can just have them press down on the chair, like they're trying to lift themselves up. Or you can even just have them push together on their hands, just kind of like this, putting together, get as much, or they can do that with anything on their body. Have them squeeze their legs together, or kind of work your way up the body. Be like, flex your calves, flex your legs, flex your butt, flex your core, and just kind of have them work that up. And that gets all those muscles going, and helps them to feel safe and helps that nervous system kind of flush out whatever's going on and get them back. So, and then I've just kind of something you can say to kind of make it, because obviously these kind of things we don't necessarily want to single kids out. Sometimes we have to, but saying something like, let's give our muscles some work so our brains can work, brains can focus. That just kind of helps them understand why you're doing it, and it's not suddenly like, oh, we're just moving now, kind of helps them get on board with it. Moving on to gentle movement. Gentle movement are things that are, I'm sure in a past thing, or you've seen, people using yoga in the classroom or whatever. This is kind of in that realm. It supports balance, it supports focus and attention, and gives us an awareness of body, because we all know middle schoolers aren't the most body aware kids ever. So it kind of brings them back into their body, helps them to reset attention. This is good for those mid-level attention dips, right after lunch kind of thing, or right after when they come back from connections. And then this is also stuff you can give to the kids when they feel antsy that they can do. These are more lower level, don't require as big work. So it's one of those things that you can give if you've got a kid that doesn't like to be singled out but gets antsy, that these are some things they can do without drawing attention to themselves. Cross-body marching, that's just kind of like elbows to knees. You'll see this one come up in a couple things, because this one and the next one, which is cross-body movement, kind of work together to do the same things. These are more of a wake-up option, whereas the heavy work is more of a calm-down option. They can do things like standing twist, obviously this one you want to be careful with, because then you don't want them to go spinning around or things like that. Just a simple side to side sway, or having them do like little small movements like weight shifts on their feet. You can have them do a freeze challenge. That's a good one. If they're coming in, have them freeze and hold the position. Especially if you can catch them on one foot. Anything that does balance, single leg pickup, get them to do the tree pose, whatever. Those kind of things, all gentle, easy to do, for that reset. The crossbody stuff, this is something that works because it engages both sides of your brain. If you're moving both sides of your body and you're crossing the midline of your body, it activates both hemispheres of your brain. And it's one of those things, again, this is a wake-up option. It increases attention and focus. Before writing or problem solving, any kind of longer period of work, this is a good one. And it's a good kind of brain break for in the middle of that work, Again, these are things like the cross crawl is a lot like that, cross body march. Infinity loops, get them to draw the infinity symbol, anything, and you can even have them do that on paper if you want. Anything where you can take one side of your body and coordinate it with the other side of the body. Foot taps, this is a good one where you can do like a Simon Says, or what's that other game where you try to copy the movements? I can't think of it right now. But yeah, so you can have them, and then this is something you can be like, all right, you know, have a student lead it, copy the student, you know, things like that. All those things are kind of like a rhythmic regulation. Anything that you can do to involve rhythm help gets that body back into a predictable cycle. That predictability helps that nervous system feel safe. It helps get them regulated without directly asking them to calm down, you know? And it can be done, some of this can be done quietly, or, you know, this is, again, some stuff you can give kind of individually to those kids that need it. Call and response clapping is a good one, you know. I'm sure we've all done that or seen the, you know, and then have them do that. You could, you know, for quieter things, you can have them do desk or thigh tapping patterns, you know. You know, that's they can do that kind of more quietly, you know, they can sit at their desk and tap on themselves, or, you know, even something like this is good, can help them out. Stomp and clap sequences, same as call and response. You know, and then, you know, times let a student lead. That'll get them to buy in a little more. You know, if they can be up there leading some sort of rhythmic movement or whatever. You know, another good thing you can do in that same vein is involving some sound. You know, something low level sound that they could use, that reverberation from your own body, in your own body, really helps to sync up your nervous system. There's a game you can play called, you know, you might have seen like Flat Tire, you might have seen that or heard that in elementary. On this one, you know, with middle schoolers, hum like a cell phone. You just have them have a pattern, have that hum, sustain it. And then there's always the cliche, you know, anytime you breathe out, you know, make some kind of sound. Ooh, ooh, sa, whatever, you know. That again gets that body reverberating and that sound. Using a chime, a bell, some kind of white noise. All that kind of sound helps to calm the nervous system. For me, you know, when I'm getting, you know, when life's getting just crazy or whatever, I like going somewhere and finding a stream or a river, something that gets really loud, and just sitting next to that and let that noise like wash over me. For me, it's fantastic. I know we can't do that here, but these same kind of things, chimes, white noise, those things kind of all do that same thing. Just a couple of handy pointers. Movement should be optional, never forced. That kind of gets a little counterproductive, you know, if they're just not having it. Avoid touch-based regulation strategies, which I feel is kind of a no-brainer, but you know, if you're out there looking for other things, something to keep in mind. Movement can definitely make learning more possible, and it's good to get that regulation in before instruction. If they've got that calm nervous system and that focused mind, it's at least gonna help. I know some of ours, they're never gonna be fully regulated, unfortunately. And then I'm gonna just go over this, but I'm gonna keep it in the presentation, so when that gets shared out, you'll have that. Just kind of a quick decision guide if they're agitated or frustrated, that heavy work, or use some sort of slower rhythm thing. If they're shut down or disengaged, you want that gentle movement, that cross body stuff, something that alerts the body. Same thing for kind of distracted or restless. Get them doing that gentle movement, that cross body work. Or if they're overwhelmed, doing that heavy work or some kind of rhythmic pattern. Because all that predictability just makes our nervous system feel better, things like that. Anybody have any questions? All right. Well, I hope you get something that you can use out of that. I've used a lot of the heavy work stuff, and I've used some of that gentle stuff in the past with transitions and things like that. But you gotta kind of keep it mixed up, or else it becomes just like, oh, we're doing this again, and kind of going through the motion. So kind of mixing up what you do and how you do it is beneficial. But yeah, I got nothing else. Enjoy the rest of your plan.